from various departments of our college. This is the second webinar organized by our department. So it is my pleasure to welcome one and all present here. First of all, I wholeheartedly welcome the resource person for today's webinar, Madam Suma Srinivasaya, who is currently working as a practice head automation chapter Centrelon, Melbourne, Australia. Suma Srinivasaya completed her BE in Electrical and Electronic Engineering from Bangalore University. She has more than 20 years of industrial experience in software testing, quality assessment, and related areas. And she has worked in many companies like Sonata Software, Infosys, etc. in various capacity. She is offering software solution in the capacity of quality analyst specialist for many companies such as National Australian Bank, Fidelity Investment, HSBC, ABN AMRO Bank, etc. In spite of her busy schedule, Madam has readily accepted our invitation for delivering a lecture on software testing for the benefit of both faculty members and the students. So on behalf of Maharani Science College for Women, Department of Computer Science, I extend a warm welcome to the Madam for accepting our invitation to be the resource person for this seminar and for sharing her rich experience and expertise with our students. Welcome, Madam.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Madam, your presence definitely will be a big impact on our students who are entering into IT industries in just a few months from now. It's my pleasure to welcome our beloved and dynamic principal, Dr. K.K. Padmanabh, who has been a great source of inspiration and a supportive of all our academic works. On behalf of Department of Computer Science, Maharani Science College for Women, I wholeheartedly welcome you for this webinar, sir. Sir, your presence will be a morale booster for us.
Thank you, Manjunath.
I cordially welcome all the faculty members and the guest faculties of our department for this webinar. Without their support, guidance, and participation, organizing webinars of this kind is definitely a difficult task. I especially invite the organizing secretaries for this webinar, Professor H.S. Nagalakshmi and Santosh Kumar BN, for taking the initiative of organizing this webinar during this lockdown period. Finally, I welcome all my young student friends who are attending this webinar from remote places. In fact, they are the true beneficiaries of this program and also the future architect of our country. I hope all of you will make the best use of this program. Finally, I welcome one and all for this program and wish you a happy learning. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
I request our principal, sir, to give an inaugural address.
Thank you, madam. Suma madam and Manjunath sir and Nagalakshmi madam, Linganna, Santosh, Aras, all my dear colleagues and students. It is my privilege to say a few words in this webinar on software testing. During this pandemic condition, we are facing so many problems and students are still they are suffering in learning process. It is very difficult to understand the subject, but still, so during this digital transformation, so you are learning about digital transformation. So it is incorporating in all the fields. Wherever you go now, you are seeing online process everywhere. Even this education also now becoming online. So UGC has recommended nearly 40% of the classes should be online and the remaining 60% offline. So we are moving slowly from offline to online process. So everything, even the books earlier used to get hard copy only. Now we are having so many e-books. All are digitalized and digital books are available now in the market. So even just in the website, you can download e-books and refer it without spending any money. So this is the one help you are digitalization. I hope Suma madam, she will elaborate about how you transfer digitalization during the software testing, everything. I am very poor in this computer science. So thank you very much, madam. I am very much interested to listen to your words. Probably up to 45 minutes, I will be listening to your words. Afterwards, I am having another meeting at 2 o'clock. I have to join. So up to that, I will be with you. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and helping, supporting our students to understand software testing, madam. Please keep on touch with us, and in future also, please extend your support to our students to enhance their knowledge in this field. Thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you very
No
much.
problem, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words.
Thank you.
The Department of Computer Science of Maharani Science College always strive hard to give industrial exposure to our students by conducting workshops, seminars, webinars, by inviting industrial experts to share their knowledge and expertise, thus helping the students to expose to recent technology advancement. In this regard, due to pandemic, we have organized a webinar on software testing role in digital transformation. I request the students to utilize this opportunity to maximum extent. Thank you. Over to resource person.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for Maharani's College, the science department and science college to extend this invite to me. Though I have spoken in multiple forums, that's usually in the IT forums where I've spoken and not in a college. So this is my first in the college. And thanks for this opportunity. And if there is anything which probably, I'm not a very formal person. So in that case, please excuse me for being a little bit informal and because we don't come from a very hierarchical background. Sorry for that. Just extending to what Dr. Manjuna told about, you will have to be a part of a solution and not a part of a problem itself. I really like the way you people all are, looking at this and, looking at it in a different lens and trying to make sure all your students are getting benefited in this very tiring times. I just can't fathom how you people are feeling there. Out here, I'm really safe. So sometimes it's very guilty to be this safe as well. But I really appreciate the way you all are scaling up, the way you all are extending your support to the students to do the e-learning in a very effective way. So thanks for this opportunity. I would first start off with that. And thanks for a very wonderful introduction of myself. It's good to hear about my introduction from others. Let me just start off with a very few words of what I have learned in this past 2 decades of the IT industry. Got close to about 20 plus years of this experience in the IT industries across different levels of testings, across different types of testing. When I have been in this journey from 20 years, you can understand I've seen testing evolve in a very, very different way. Initially, when it came to software testing, it was more like an afterthought. Hey, do we really want to do this software testing? Is it really necessary? Can we just get away without doing software testing? Because people used to think that it used to be more of a what you could say I could just spend only maybe 10% of the overall budget. Maybe that's more than sufficient. That's the way software testing was treated when I started my career, which is about 20 years back. From then to now, we have as software testing engineers or a quality engineers as we call ourselves now, we have evolved so much. It's been very, very important phase of the software development life cycle itself. So this way I've seen a different angle of the way the world looks at software testing itself. Um, is my voice clear? Are everyone able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, no problem.
Yeah, if
No,
it
no.
is little louder, it's better.
Oh, okay. Sure, I'll do that. Let me share my it's asking me that I need to have a screen recording permission on.
Yes, present now.
Can I? All right. I think it's asking me to give me a system permission. Just give me one moment. Strange. It's not actually letting me. Uh, Would you mind if I send my presentation to one of you? Would that be all right?
Okay.
That's better. If no confidential data is there, you can share it to Nagalakshmi madam only, because she is the host.
Okay.
Yeah, please mail me.
Just give me 1 minute.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Just give me 1 minute. I didn't realize that, I had to do some more settings over here. Uh-oh.
Record cancel madam. Suma, should we cancel the record? It's not permitting.
Should we cancel the record?
Is it record?
Can you send the did you send the mail ಅಂತ ಕಳಿಸಿ ಕೇಳು ಸುಮಾರು ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ
Madam, she left the meeting ಅಂತ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. ಟೈಮಿಂಗ್.
ಹೇಳ ಅಂದ್ರೆ
ತಲ್ ರಿಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ ಅಲ್ಲ 100
ಯಾರು ಒಬ್ರು ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಕೊಡು ಈಗ.
ನಾಗಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಿ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್. ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್.
ಆಯ್ತು, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಕೌಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ 100 ಅಂತ ಪರ್ಮಿಟ್ ಮಾಡದೇ ಇರೋ ಕಷ್ಟ ಮೇಡಮ್ಗೆ.
ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದ್ರು.
ನಾಗಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಿ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಆಡಿಯೋ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಮೇಡಮ್ದು, ಸುಮಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ದು. ನಾಗಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಿ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಆಡಿಯೋ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು, ಸುಮಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ದು.
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅವರೇ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಏನೋ ಕಾಲ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ.
ಕಳಿಸ್ತೆ ಈಗ, ನಿಮಿಷ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೆ. ಅದನ್ನೇ ಫಾರ್ವರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ.
ಸುಮಾ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಯು ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಯುವರ್ ಆಡಿಯೋ.
ಅವಳದೇ ಕಳಿಸ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. 2003 ಯಾವ ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಈಗ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ವಾ ನೀನು? ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಳಿಸು ಸರಿ.
Hello, sorry sir, I just wanted to make sure that I was just talking to Nagalakshmi madam, just asking her whether I can send her to which email ID. Are you able to see my screen now?
No madam.
Oh,
one second.
It's saying that it's sharing my screen now.
Now it's visible.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm going to make an attempt is, I have worked in different phases of testing, in different areas of testing. Like when it comes to some of my early days of career, there was a DB2 data migration which happened from DB2 to Oracle. That's some of the experiences which I have. There has been some places wherein different banks have got merged together. And these are the major banks, like, number one European bank versus a number one
ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ.
Yes.
ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಅತ್ತೆ ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಸೊ ಅವ್ರ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಡಿಟೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಡಿ ಯು ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ವಾಂಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಎಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಶಿಲೆ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್. ಹಾಂ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ದು ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು ತಾನೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಅತ್ತನೇ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ ಇಶ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಯಿತು. ನಮ್ಮದು ಕೇಳುತ್ತೆ, ನಾವು ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಗಿಸ್ಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರೀಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ದೇರ್ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಡಿ ವಾಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಅಂತ. ಅವಾಗ ಎಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗೋದು. ನಾವು ಎಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಅವಾಗ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ದೇರ್ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಡಿ ವಾಂಟ್ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಅಂತ.
Profile pictures, right? So it means that your profile picture should show what is that you have logged on with. You wouldn't want somebody to, kind of do something bad with that and, put some other picture over there, right? So these are the different things when a software is built, whether it is actually conforming to what was required. So these are the different things which we should be always very clear when we are doing a software testing. So now, when this is one part when it comes to software testing, I'll probably take you through the journey of how software testing is done in your software development lifecycle and different type of testing too. So moving on to the next one. Does anyone have any question on what is software testing? And I'll not be able to see if somebody is raising their hand. So please, I would request Naglakshmi madam to help me out on it. Okay, I assume nobody has a question at this point in time. Moving into the next one, right? I think all of you are in either, I heard from Dr. Manjuna that most of you are, moving into the IT industry in the next few months. So maybe you're already in your final years, or maybe you're already in your second year and ready to, you've already understood what is software development lifecycle, right? So as you can see here, there is a difference between software development lifecycle, software testing lifecycle. I'll just very briefly touch upon what is software development lifecycle, and then I'll go in detail what is software testing lifecycle. All right. So what is software development lifecycle? For anything to start off, I need to build something. I simply cannot build anything, right? I need to understand what to build. So that's where my requirements are given to me. This is where the requirement gathering happens. So what we need to understand whenever a software is built, there are multiple players in this. One is, we would say the business. The business will say, you know what, I want a specific different test or different application to be built for me. So let's take again the example of a bank, right? Initially, the bank could be just telling that, we will log into our accounts. Once you log into your accounts, you'll be able to see your saving bank or your current account details, and that's where it is. Now there is something like a fund transfer, right? Now I need to do a fund transfer between one person to the other person. So if I have to do that, what are the different levels of information which is required? That is something which will come from an expert who's there in the industry, who understands fund transfer in and out, and who also understands when there is a fund transfer between two different banks or within the same banks, what all are the different things I need to consider. So that is where a business expert comes into picture. We call them as subject matter experts, or even a BA sometimes, a business analyst. right? Once they come into picture, okay, this is my requirement. I need you to build this for me. Now, next, what happens? Okay, now I need to understand whether this is possible. If it is possible, how am I going to do that? That's your analysis phase, right? And this is where the testers will come into picture. I'll come to that in a while. And then the design happens. Then the design is more to understand how I want to build, this, what are the underlying technologies I will use. Those are the things which they come into design phase. And the coding, testing, deployment. Now, when you see the software development lifecycle, testing is a part of SDLC. Initially, it was just not a very important part of SDLC. Now it is one of the most strategic part of SDLC. Okay, I will take you through that SDLC in detail here. All right. Any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah.
Anusha.
Did you say no, ma'am, or did you have any? Okay.
Anusha,
So now what happens?
No, you can.
Shall I continue? Yeah, okay, thanks. So now what happens with requirement analysis? See, here it was requirement gathering. Requirement gathering happens with a different set of people. It's not even the developers who are actually going to play a very important role in requirements gathering. When it comes to requirement analysis, what really happens? Now, probably let me just take one example for you guys, if that's fine. Okay. Are you able to see my screen with this particular retail website?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, you can see.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Visible, madam.
Yeah. Great. Say, for example, this is a website which has to be built. It's not yet built. So now what they're going to say, I want to build this particular website. What is it I want to build? I want to build only for women, for with dresses and with t-shirts. This is all I have a requirement. This is not actually a complete website. It's one of the sites which we use for some of our testing. So now what happens with this? Now, when I say women, okay, what are the different type of apparels, or what are the different type of dresses which I want to list here? When I talk about women's dresses, I'm sorry about the men in the whole group. If it's a little boring example for you, sorry about that. So what would be that we need? We definitely need different type of tops, dresses, whether it's going to be what is the different kind of materials we need, what is the kind of style we need, what is the availability what we have, what is the manufacturer what we have, what is the different manufacturers who can actually sell their product on this website. These are the different aspects anybody has to bring in, right? Now, say for example, there is a requirement which is given to you this way. We are, as a tester, you sit with your, there will be a group of people who can be your test manager, your test lead, and your fellow testers in a group who can sit. And then you say, okay, now everything is fine over here. I don't actually see a category over here at all. The category is here, only here, but I don't see a category over here. Is it necessary to put it there? Yes, it's necessary to put it there. Now, once everything is done, I don't see anything like the cart. There could be that this particular cart itself was not even built before. Believe me, I have been in such situations where the most important aspects of some of the functions are not even built unless somebody points it out. So these are the different things which we should think, like, okay, for a specific requirement, what are the different aspects which we need for building this whole website? Have we thought through all those things? Is everything of this is documented in something what they call it as requirement specification document, right? SRS, software requirement specification. Is all this specification thought through? I build a website, fine. Now, once I build a website, I need to make sure that if somebody is ready to buy from this website, it should actually go to a next level. What is the next level? I add it to the cart, and I need to be able to build a backend for it, which actually says it has to go through a payment gateway to the outside world, which is the banker, right? Where you put in your card details or your PayPal details and say, I pay for it. So these are the different aspects which anybody should consider once some of these websites is built, right? This is one of those websites. So this is where you think back and say, hey, I need to understand whether all those things are there in my SRS. Right. Okay. Now I have this SRS. If I have any questions on this, what is the underlying technology you are going to use? What is that you are going to do? When is that everything is planned and everything? This is the point in time when you can discuss with the business analyst, the subject matter experts, or the developers. So you can speak, they are called as the stakeholders. That is, they are the people who are responsible for this particular product to be built. And even you are also a stakeholder as a tester. So you contribute to the discussions, there will be some workshops conducted based on which you finalize. Yes, I do understand the software requirement completely. Now I'm confident to test it. Once that happens, the next phase is test planning. So what happens in this test plan? So coming back to the same example of this particular website, right? Just think about this website. It is not going to be that everybody, only one person is going to be one person or one team is going to be developing the whole website, right? Somebody will be doing this front end. They want to make it look nice, appealing, so that people can come and visit this website. And somebody will be working in the back end where they're thinking, okay, what are the different information which is required? Where are we storing it? What is the kind of database we need to understand? So all these things will be happening in the background. There will be multiple teams, one front end team, one back end team, and one something as an integration team, or one more team which is actually liaising or contacting the other third party vendors, like your payment details, payment gateways as we call it as. So these are the different parties which is going to be involved. So you will have to talk to them, understand this is how I plan to do my testing. How do I plan to do my testing? When do I plan to do my testing? What are the different people whom I'm going to involve in that testing? All these things will happen during your test planning phase. All right. Okay. I hear some noise. I don't know whether people wanted to ask a question. If not, I would request them to go on mute. Okay. So the next thing is a test design phase, right? Now I understand when to plan, what to plan, and when I should start what type of testing. I'll come to what type of testing in the next slide. Just for now, just park that thought that more than one type of testing is required whenever we are doing any kind of software testing. So we'll just think, okay, I need to do different type of testing. What are the different type of testing I need to do? When I need to do? How I need to do? That's what I do in the part of test planning. Now coming to test design. Okay, I need to test this. For example, going back to the same website, right? Okay, here, when I do everything, I need to make sure that, for example, I just add something to the, maybe, where do I need to add this? Okay, I'll just say this one, add to cart. When I say add to cart, now what happens now? When I say add to cart, so I would say, now under women, there is a printed dresses. Under printed dresses, I'm adding a specific product to the cart. So this is my testing, where I'm saying there are different, what you could say, different commodities which is available on this website. I will select one of those commodity and I will see whether I can add it to the cart. So this is my test case, for example. So what I will say, click on this website. Once that website is open, come to women, click on women, then click on printed dresses, and then add something to the cart. So this is the way I need to write my test cases. I need to make sure every link in the specific website is tested. There is no broken link, as we call it as. Say, for example, casual dresses is something coming in, good, it's coming in. T-shirts, is everything coming in? Yes, it is coming in. And is only T-shirts actually listed around here, not dresses? So these are the different kind of testing I need to do. When I need to do that, I can write it. Okay, I log on to the specific website, I click on this and I do this. That's a way of doing it in a manual fashion. There is something I will call as automated fashion also, which I will come to that in a while too. So once that is done, the next thing is the environment setup. Now, when this particular website is getting built, you don't know what is the kind of it's not a full-fledged website when it is still getting built, right? Now you see that there's a lot of t-shirts or whatever women dresses, everything listed here. If not, what you should do? You should be able to put some data in here, like the test data into this, right? Saying that these are the different type of products which is supposed to be available in this particular website for me to test. So that is one thing. You want to make sure that your test environment is ready, where the data is available, the code is available for you to test, and sometimes it's just only a bit of the code which is available, but there is nothing which is integrated once you add it to the cart. So will that particular piece of code also be available for you to test? So these are the different aspects which you need to think about when it comes to test environment perspective itself. Yeah. And then you do, in the end, you do the test execution. Actually, you sit and test the whole website. This is your actual interesting part where you're thinking, okay, let me just see whether I can get any defects on it. Is it really built as per my confirmation? Like there's been a lot of requirements which is given to me. As per the requirement, I have written my test cases. Is it really working as it should? If it is not working as it should, the next step is to say, you know what, I found a defect. Once you found a defect, you're assigning it to the developer, making sure that the developer is fixing it. And once it is fixed, you actually retest it. And then you close it. The last part of the SDLC cycle is the test closure, where you're saying that, you know, these are the different requirements which was there. This is how I've tested this. This is how many defects I found. This is the priority and the severity of the defects. Maybe that's a different huge topic altogether. Maybe can't cover it at this point in time. So all these things are there, and now this many defects are still open. Sometimes there could be some more defects which is still open when you are actually releasing a product to the production as well. So this is in a nutshell what is SDLC. If I'm going a little bit fast, please tell me, because I tend to go a little bit fast. Is this all right? Is the speed okay?
Okay, madam.
Yeah. Any questions on this so far? Okay. I am having some issue with my laptop now, once again, when I'm sharing it. Okay. So now I just mentioned here, when I mentioned here, I mentioned about test planning, remember? And I said that there are various types and levels of testing which we have to plan when we are testing any software, right? So let me take you through some of them. There is a huge laundry list. Believe me, this is not doing any justice to it. There's a lot more of testing types when it comes to, you know, testing anything. But let me just give a short of what I can cover, which is relevant currently, okay? So I know that you definitely would have read about black box testing and white box testing, isn't it? So, you know, white box testing is where you see the code and you understand the code, and that's how you test. That's more of a static code analysis perspective, as we call, and mostly done by the developers, right? And when it comes to black box testing, that's where we are getting into picture, which is more of a functional testing and non-functional testing. So coming to the functional testing, right? What is, as a name itself suggests, we are making sure that whatever we are building, whatever we are testing, is built as per the required functionality which is described in the software requirement specification, SRS document, right? When that happens, there's a lot of different levels of testing to it. The first one would be unit testing. Unit testing is mostly done by the developers. See, and when you see the unit, the name unit itself suggests, right? It's just very specific. When there is a development happening, every developer is given one piece of work. It's not that they're going to give a big piece of work for them, right? It's just one piece of work given to them. So what is expected out of them is, in this piece of work, is whatever is given to me, is it working? For example, in this website, a particular developer could be given that, hey, you know what you need to do? You need to just come to this website and add this woman When tab, under that, list only these things. That's all. He might not be even given anything towards this side. He might be just given add the colors, the compositions, the styles. That's all. So when it comes to his working, he will just come and see only whether these things are done or not. And that cannot, it need not be even manual testing. He can do it in his own way of writing a bit of scripts and everything. So he can do that. Now, the next important testing for us as a tester when we start off is smoke testing. Smoke testing is like what you could say, like a sanity testing. I come, okay, they say, you know what, Suma, this particular website is already launched. Now it's for your team and you to go and test it. First thing, what I'll come and do, I'll come and do just this. Just hit this and see whether it is really available for me or not. Okay, now it's available for me. Now what? At least is everything working fine? I will not even care if these information under this is correct or wrong. All I come and say is, okay, I'm able to just hit these things. It's not giving me any blank shots. It's not giving me any blank, broken links. Everything is fine. It's working. So this is the only thing which I do. When is this done? Just to for anybody to start off a testing before you say, okay, 5 people of my team are going to start testing on this. Somebody will go and test whether this is really in a testable format or not. Whether is it really ready for us to start off testing on. That's what is called a smoke testing. Or in some places, it's also called a sanity testing. Whether is it really sane enough for us to go and start off the testing or not. So this is what we call it as sanity testing or smoke testing. Now then it comes as system testing. Now what happens? Sorry. Now what comes with the system testing? Let's just go understand again from the specific stuff. Now here we can consider this whole website as one system where everything in the front end is built, everything in the back end is also built. Now it's all done. Now what happens next? I just want to make sure that all this portion is built. Now everything like, whatever has to be listed under each of these specific areas are all there available for us and we take it to the next level. So this is all done. Now what next? So once the system testing is completed, then comes the integration testing. Now, just by the website, it can't really exist, right? Somebody has to buy it. Once they buy it, they need to pay for it. And once it is paid for it, the person who's actually selling this on this particular website should make money. And also the website hosting people also should some make money, right? So then the next thing is the integration testing. Is this integrated with this particular? Now the cart is empty. I can't do anything about it. Let me just again add something. Just give me one moment. It's not responding.
Do you have any doubts?
Okay. Now when I add to this cart, I say proceed to checkout. Then now what happens? I need to make sure that I will start adding some of these important details. Sometimes it need not ask me to, kind of log in and sign in and all. It can just ask me to, go ahead and make it as a guest checkout, right? It can even do that. Now I'll say, okay, create an account. I'll create an account. And when I say for the payment perspective, there are a lot of banks which give us some dummy cards. I will enter the dummy card and make sure it's working right. That means I'm testing the integration between this website, whatever we are looking at, with the bank payment gateway. That is my integration testing. I'm testing something which is more than one. The system, which is the website, and also the payment gateway, which is from the bank perspective. So both of these are tested together. So my integration testing is also done. So that is the one of the major thing which is important as integration testing, right? And now the next one is a user acceptance testing. What happens with the user acceptance testing? Remember I was speaking about requirement gathering phase where we have this subject matter experts, where we have this business analyst who will come to us and say, you know what, I want you to build this, right? That is how they come with a specific request to the IT department. They are our users because they want to say that this is how it should be built. And so they should be the people who should actually test this and say yes, right? Sometimes what really happens is this user acceptance testing can be people who can be randomly selected. Like, somebody can come and approach me and say, or you or anybody, and say, you know what, we are building a retail website. Can you just come and test whether it's fine for you or not? Because you could be a person who would be really probably shopping too much on the online perspective. I think everybody are now shopping on the online, right? So you could be an expert of it, and you could say, you know what, maybe this is not all right, maybe that's not all right. You can start giving them the input of what really can enhance the user, or you can say UX factor, where you really feel happy as a consumer of this specific website. You feel really happy to use this website. So that's the user acceptance testing. So when you see all these functional testing, whatever the areas I have listed here, you don't need to think that it is done only manually. Like, you come and click and then say add, go to the chart. These are the things which you're doing manually. Like, I am manually clicking each of these buttons now. Instead of this, we can do it in an automated way. Now, what is automation? You all have learned a lot of coding, right? Wherein you are actually developing a software. Now you can develop, a script, or you can develop, a specific using a specific language like the PHP, Java, C Sharp, anything like that. You can even the JavaScripts you can use, and you can actually run it programmatically to open this website and then do these actions for you. That's the automation testing. So all these functional testing, whatever is listed over here, can be done in an automated fashion as well. Okay. I will pause for a moment here because I think this is a very important aspect of functional testing. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take. Any questions? Hello? I'll continue that. Well, this is a part of functional testing where you are making sure that the whole software is built as it was supposed to be built. There's other aspect of it where the testers are very, very important, right? For example, performance testing. For this, let me take an example of Amazon. I'm going to log on to my Amazon account, but I hope nobody can see my user ID and password. Okay, I'm already, what? Let me explain using this, okay? Anybody tell me what's your favorite website to go and, shop? Can we make it more interactive? Can somebody tell me that?
Amazon,
Hello?
Flipkart, ma'am.
Amazon, Flipkart, okay. Sorry, I don't have a Flipkart account, so let me just stick to Amazon. Is this all right? Okay. Now, when is the Amazon works really? I mean, when is the sale on Amazon really, which goes crazy in India? Is it Deepavali sale?
Big Billion Days.
Hello? Dasra. Okay. So when it is Dasra sales, I don't know. I think it really goes crazy, and lots of people order on this, and everybody are kind of logged on to this website. That's correct. Is it right?
Yes,
Just
ma'am.
okay. Just think. I mean, let's just go with the lipstick. I'm sorry again with the men in the forum. If you want to order this lipstick, you're ready with this particular color and everything. Okay, I'm really impressed by this. I just want to order this, and the website goes down. What would be your reaction? What would be your reaction? Very disappointing. And you would really not, would you like Amazon anymore? Or you would like it little lesser?
Not really.
Not really. See, so what does it say to us? When it, as a customer, what you want, when you're actually doing some, you're actually using a specific software, you want to make sure that it's always available for you and a proper, that means the performance of the specific software is good, right? So at the time of, say, at the time of Dasara, I think, there could be some, I don't know, it could be lakhs and lakhs of people which are actually logged on to this particular website at the same time. That means it's a huge, huge volume, isn't it? It's a huge volume which has been there on this particular website. That means this Amazon.com, I don't know whether it's .in India, which is supposed to be available for a long time for us, even if there are many people logged on at the same time, right? And the session, whatever is being there, for example, you selected a specific product and it's working right. You know what? Just give me one moment. My battery is dying. Let me just switch it on. So sorry, I was in the performance testing part of it, right? So that means the volume which gets into this particular website is very high. So I need to make sure whatever I'm building is really taking care of this huge volume, right? The volume, the stress part of it. So when you just think, whenever I think there is going to be like, I don't know, I guess if there is a specific offer on a specific item which is really, really less, everybody are going to hit on the same link. So like many people hitting on the same link all the time, still my specific website should be resilient. It should not break. That is my performance testing for me. I need to make sure it's always available. It's even how much ever volume I put, how much ever a stress I put on this, it should definitely not break. That's my specific thing when it comes to performance testing. Now let's go to security part of it. um I think, sometime before, just think that, you've ordered a specific thing, ordered a specific, you've selected something to check out. When you're trying to check out, something breaks, and you've given your, probably even your details to an extent. Next time you come back and you see that some of those details are retained on this space. For example, I say cart, nothing is there, I hope. It's empty. Okay, let me say add to cart. I'm a great fan of Sadhguru, so you might see a lot of Sadhgurus over here. So when I say add to cart, when I say cart over here, now I say proceed to checkout. I have some of my card entry details here because I've saved it. Just think I've not saved it. Then I just add some of my card details and I go to the end. Now what happens? I just, then the session breaks. I come back to the session again. I expect my card related details should not be retained here, because those are the normal, what you could say, principles of building a website. Is it really adhered to or not? So my security is very important. I can't expect somebody to come and hack it and say, okay, Suma's account, let me hack it. Now I know Suma's, this is maybe her, using some of my details, they just can't do some kind of a SQL injections or something like that to the whole software. Try to break it. Try to get some of the information out of it. Because these are the very costly things which will happen in the end. I'll come to that also in a bit. That's security testing. The next thing is the usability testing. Now, when it comes to Amazon, I guess Amazon, I see a lot of things which has changed recently. Do I like it or not? Maybe not yet. Not too many things I like about Amazon. But just think about it. If it's a mid-year sale, I say mid-year sale is a broken link. It's not at all coming. So usability perspective, it is wrong. When I say I see only my account details over here, so I don't know if I want to search for a specific thing on this whole website. Is it easy for me to really look at that? Is it easy for me to search for something? And if I'm searching for something, is all the relevant information coming in one place? Those are the different things for usability testing. Usability testing is very important when it comes to all these things. Like, this is a website which is supposed to make a user very comfortable in using it. Anybody who's not very much interested in their technology perspective, or they don't know too much about the website, too much about the internet, still they should be able to very to a large extent use it very easily. So this is what we call about usability testing, and that's very important part of it. And when it comes to API testing and microservices, is microservices and API testing a part of your syllabus? Hello?
Now, can you repeat?
Is API testing and microservices a part of your syllabus?
No, no, no.
No, madam.
Okay. So maybe I'll leave that at this point in time. It could be probably little difficult for me to explain at this point in time given the time constraint. So this is also
Last one actually needed.
Sorry?
Module testing.
Mobile testing.
Module testing actually. Yeah.
Mobile testing.
Module testing. Mobile testing.
Mobile testing. It's mobile testing. Sorry. All right. So API testing and microservices is something which is the way the industry is moving today. I'll probably cover it very quickly when I cover the digital transformation part of it. So when it comes to mobile testing itself, right? See, mobile is something which we use every time now, right? Any app or any kind of a product which is built, it has to have a component of mobile now, which is very important. For example, I'm sure many of the faculty over here would be definitely looking a lot of things on their mobile, right? Maybe even looking at their different levels of when they have a specific lecture to go and give, or maybe the timetables part of it, or maybe some of their internal part of it, internals whenever you have, or whenever they have a practical exams part of it. All these things can be done on a mobile, especially when it comes to the IT world. Lot of our work will get on a mobile itself. So you need to make sure that the mobile is supporting most of the software which is built today in the current world, and it is easily tested. Many a times what does happen is in the mobile, the whole the part which gets missed out is the way it is used, or the way it is looks, the way it appears to be on the mobile. So those are the two different things which always doesn't work as it works on your normal screen. So these are the different things which you need to really take care when it comes to mobile testing.
Madam,
All
sir,
these things, sorry, yeah,
Dr. Manjunath, he has one question for you.
please go ahead. Yeah.
What is actually load testing actually?
Load testing. So load testing is a part of performance testing, sir. Yeah. When it comes to when you say performance testing, it consists of load, volume, and stress. Yeah. When it comes to load, it is you are continuously hitting that particular thing continuously to understand what is a threshold of a specific software. For example, Amazon, right? I can say I can do 100 hits. No, I'm just giving a very low number. Could be few lakhs hit at a same time, and that is when it breaks. So that's my load. I keep on adding the load to it just to see when it breaks.
Okay. Then for small systems, it's not required.
See, even if it's a small system, for example, right now, no, you see when the Google Meet happens, we know it's 100. So the load has already happened. So 100 people have already joined. That's the reason you can't join beyond that. That's also a load. Small or big, in some form or shape, all these are important. Maybe not very much, but yes, it is important.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
No worries, sir. Thanks. Thanks for the question. Yeah. So is this okay? Can I move on?
Hello?
Yeah. So why software testing? I think, I explained what is software testing, what is the different phases of software testing and everything. But let me just explain very quickly what is software testing. I told you about the performance, the security, and everything. I'll just probably summarize it in this slide, right? So when you talk about it, it is very cost effective. Why it is cost effective? Just think that we actually found the defect after it was put into production, what really happens? The way it goes is, if you don't find the defects early on and you find it really later, it costs you closely about $15,000 US dollars versus $25 only to fix it. If you find it in the early part of testing, it is that cost effective. Okay, when it, and just think, it's just not about it is not just only about money here, right? Sometimes you have seen the loss of the customer being dissatisfied. I think the lady who just spoke, that she'd be very disappointed if she's not able to purchase her favorite lipstick, right? You'll be very disappointed, and maybe next time onwards you'll not really trust Amazon so much. So that means to say you lose that specific inclinity that I want to go and shop on Amazon. So that's how you lose customer base. Worst part, sometimes you even lose human lives. So there has been a lot of such things. That's one thing about cost effectiveness. Second thing is customer satisfaction. Yes, it's all built right. I'm able to shop right. It's all easy for me to use. That's one thing what we need to look at. Flexibility part of it, I can probably extend this. Like there was a woman apparel which was dresses and everything. Now I can even add a men to it. How fast I can add to it. If I add to it, how fast I can test it. Because I already know all the functionality. I can test it probably easily. That's the way I can be very flexible. So now you know, once you have tested this software very much, it's completely reliable. So you know it is performing as it should. It's not having any defects. It is actually looking at whatever the functional requirements was, things are taken care, and that's where it is definitely reliable. There's a lot of value addition here, because sometimes I have been in such an instances where they're actually building something which is definitely not necessary, because as a developer they go and see only their piece of work, but as a tester you're looking at a very overall picture. You see, okay, this has to be built, this has to be built, this has to be built, and then I need to test everything together. You're looking at everything in vertical and also horizontal. So this way you know the overall picture of what is being built. That is where you give your very much value addition as a software tester. That's very, very important bit. When you start giving that value add, that is where you start gaining respect as a quality engineer or a quality or as a software tester in your field. Then comes the security. I was speaking about security, right? There are hackers which is coming in. There's a lot of things which is happening where people, phishing mails, where people are hacking into each other accounts and holding for ransom. So these are things which is happening. But once you test your software properly for security, you can reduce that to a very, very large extent. Still, there are a lot of very good hackers in the world. They might still find way, but still, at least to a large extent, your software is actually secure. So this is why I would say why software testing is absolutely necessary. But then I just put some of the, I just want to give you some of these details, why software testing is important and why people have taken us really seriously, right? So Starbucks is a retailer when it comes to coffee shop. There was some kind of a issue in the POS system, point of sales, because of which they had to give free coffees. People who got free coffees, very happy. But for Starbucks, it was a huge, huge loss, right? And recently, in our in Australian world, we had some phishing mails for the Twitter employees, which actually costed about 110,000 US dollars as a ransom, which they took because of they started posting into different accounts like Biden, Joe Biden, and even Elon Musk and people like that. So these are the different things which they have done because it was not completely security tested, right? And this is one unfortunate incident I was talking about. People can lose their life, right? There was some radiations which was supposed to be given in one of the cancer institute. So when radiation is supposed to be given to a patient, depending on the patient's condition, a radiation has to be given. A specific, what you can say, level of radiation has to be given. But then it went wrong, and then it was miscalculated. Some people died, and a lot of people had overdoses, and there were a lot of side effects to it. So this is where it becomes more costly. Say one or two places here and there, people that there could be a loss of money, there could be a loss of client, what you could say, client representation of us, that's fine. But sometimes there will be cases of human life loss. This is where it is, very, very difficult. And for example, one more thing which happened was the Nissan cars, where there was not having the airbags which was tested properly. So when the airbags are not tested properly in the Western world, people go really, really fast. The average speed would be around 80 kilometers per hour. And at that particular instant, if there is an accident, it's very difficult for anybody to survive. So airbags are absolutely necessary, and that did not work properly. And there was some loss of human life there as well. So these are the different aspects which has made the world to think back. You sit back and think, definitely software testing is required. And as a strategy, we need to involve them at a very early stage, not as an afterthought and the later stage. So that is where the software testing is evolved. Yeah. Now I'll move to digital transformation. I just gave you all this background because then I can just talk about digital transformation and it'll be easier to understand. Any questions so far? Hello? Okay. We have only 4 minutes. Is it all right to speak? I mean, I'm all right. I don't have any time constraint, but is it all right?
Yeah.
Naglakshmi? Okay. Good. Okay. So now let's think about digital transformation. Can somebody tell me what is digitization? Anyone?
Conversion of text or picture into digital form.
Okay, close enough. Good answer. All right. Anything else? Why do you think it's important?
Conversion of analog signals into digital signals.
Yeah, that is the very apt definition of digitization. Good. Why do you think it's important?
To transfer data.
Why do you want to transfer data?
Share it with one another.
Have you heard of floppy disk? We had floppy disk and everything. We could share. We can say share a printout.
Yeah, but then we need physical contact to share all those things. Wherein if it is digitization, then we can share it like using digital communications.
Great, really good. So I guess all of you know what is digitization for sure. And also I think you know why it is important also, right? So yeah, analog to digital, that's my favorite, one of my favorite, you can say definition of digitization. So previously, if you look, if you had to do any business, you remember the bookkeeping, the ledgers, everything like that. You remember all those things. That's how any data was stored for the future references and for the auditing purposes. Now, as somebody here told, I know who said, I'm sorry, not able to see your names because I see only my screen. That is the right answer which somebody said about, to share it with others. Why do you want to share it with others? It's not sharing with just one person, right? It is about sharing with many. And it's not exactly just one server we are talking about. We are talking about cloud. I'll just come to that in a while. So there is a lot of these data which is required for us to share with one another. And with the current world where it's very important to show everyone what we are doing, how we can share our one another's experience and grow with it. So that is where the digital data is very important. Now, this is a part of digitization, right? There is a lot of these digitization and a lot of digital technology which is there, which is used, which has actually made our digital transformation to what we are today, right? When it comes to digital transformation, nobody expected it to grow so much. I think, COVID has done a lot back to us. One good thing which it did was it pushed everybody to kind of get into a digital transformation in a very, very fast forward mode. Whatever we thought we will not be able to achieve in, say, in 8 years, we probably achieved it in 1.5 years. I guess, necessity is the mother of invention, right? So this really became necessity for all of us to definitely survive, not even just learn and grow, it's also for survival. So that's where the digital transformation has kind of transformed the whole world. We sometimes even call it as disruption. It's been like a disruptive thing which is happening, because of which we have to transform the way we look at the world, the way we adapt in the world. How many of you really had online classes pre-COVID? Did you have any online classes?
No, ma'am.
No? Did you really think all of your professors, lecturers would be really happy to do online classes?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you think they'll be okay to do it? And would you be also be okay to sit in your own houses and just learn from house?
Ma'am, it's actually boring, ma'am.
It's actually boring. Great. That's a social thing, right? You want to be really socially connected. We are social animals.
Yes,
Yep.
ma'am.
Yeah. So you understood where I'm coming from. There is a very different way of adaptation everybody is making, so that because of this digital technologies, whatever technologies which is already available to us, we are making use of it, and we are changing the way we are working. See, as you can see here in my definition, I've written business process. Let's just keep that for a minute. Let's just keep it aside. Culture, isn't it? This is where we have adapted our culture. Our culture was to go to the college, learn from face to face, learn from each other, interact. But right now, we have done a cultural shift wherein we are okay to learn online, because we know we all have to be safe. So there's been a transformation in culture. How are we doing it? Are we doing something very new, or are we using whatever was available? I think Google Meet was available even before 2 years, right? It was available. We are making use of it. And maybe Google Meet has enhanced its number of people who can join in, and how they can join in, or maybe they made it free. Lot of other things are included, but it was already there, which might have been enhanced, which we are using for our own cultural needs, isn't it? Where this culture came up because of the changing requirement, isn't it? There was a changing requirement. We all can't be without learning anything for a year. We have to learn. So when we have to learn it, how do we learn it? We found a way that there's a Google Meet from which we can learn. So this is what is happening in the current world. In every area, in every phase of life, people are adapting, and that is possible because of the digital technology which is there, or which is getting enhanced for any type of transformation we read, be it business process, be it culture, be it customer experience, be it anything. Digital technology is there to help. Okay. Say, how many of you actually watch Netflix? I guess everyone would have watched Money Heist, right?
Yes,
Did
ma'am.
you? Yeah. So do you know, once upon a time Netflix was what we call as a concrete and mortar, or it is more of a place where you can go and rent a DVD, rent a CD. It was that kind of a shop. Now when you look at it, it's everything is digital online for you. Is that not a digital technology which is taken into consideration, and the digital transformation has happened, where you are able to see lot and lot of things available for you on the digital platform anytime you want, right? That's one part of it. And where is it available? Everything is available on the cloud for you. Are people available or aware of this infrastructure, server, servers? I'm sure you would have learned about servers, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So the server is a physical machine. On servers, how much can you store? So there are so many such servers which is available in different places, huge, huge places where they keep these servers, which is provided by, any of these cloud providers, server providers. Amazon Web Services, AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, Have you heard of these?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So Netflix is, if I'm not wrong, it's on Amazon Web Services. So if Amazon Web Services go down, you people can't watch Netflix, right? So that's how it is. So there's a lot of things which has happened in the world which is enabling us to move ahead. Even with so much of disruptions happening, we are able to move ahead. When it comes to especially the financial sector, think about it. In the financial sector, I don't know. I don't know about your generation. When I was really young, I used to go to the not really young. When I used to go to the bank, I used to get a token. I used to go and withdraw the money. I'm not really sure any one of you have done that anymore. There's an ATM. You just go withdraw your money and come out, right? So even that's a transformation. There's a lot of these things which has happened because there was only a 9 to 5 or 9 to 2. You could go and withdraw the money. Now what happened? The business started changing. Some of the banks wanted it to be extended. So what they could do, we'll see whether we can have a teller machine outside wherein anybody can withdraw the money easily. So that is something which was which was changed by the market requirement. Now, the market requirement was to make sure that the money is available for everybody anytime they want. Not that they have to go to the bank, they have to stand in a queue, then they have to get their own money. So I would just question, why should I go and stand in a queue to get my own money? So that is where there was a market demand for that. And that's how there was a change which was made where an ATM happened. So when an ATM happens, it is also having a lot of things in the background, right? It is connected to your own bank account. So it makes sure that the whatever money you have taken from there is debited from your account and it's already properly put it in your balance sheet. All these things should happen. So all these different aspects happen because of the demand of the customer, because of the requirement in the business and in the market. Okay. So when we see all these things, we say that, there would be about 6 stages, for a digital transformation. Let's just think of one thing. Whenever I need to do some change, what is the first thing I want to make sure? Like, just think that, I'm able to withdraw my money today. If I'm changing from this specific website to some other website of ICICI Bank is actually migrating to something else, my basic requirement would be I still should be able to see my account details, right? What else I should be able to do? Anyone? Did anyone understand my question? Hello?
Pardon?
See, let us see. There are 6 different stages of digital transformation, right? Now let's start covering one by one. Now, business as usual. Correct? What does this mean? When, for example, ICICI Bank is thinking of changing their complete website. Let's say, for example, today they were maybe hosted on AWS Cloud. Now they want to move it to Google Cloud. If they do that, as a customer, what is my basic thing which should not change?
Name, account number, transactions.
Perfect.
PIN.
Correct. Perfect.
Aadhaar number.
Aadhaar number. See, that means to say whatever I am able to do today, I should be able to do the same thing tomorrow as well. That's my first important stuff to happen. And that is my business as usual. Correct? That's right? Perfect.
Yes,
you got it right. You got it right.
Yes, ma'am.
Next thing is present and active. What does the present and active mean? Say, I would want to say, just think, this is from the customer perspective. Business as usual is from the customer perspective. Now think, you are working in a bank. When you are working in a bank, there is the IT department will decide, I'm moving from AWS to Google Cloud. It doesn't mean anything to me, right? What does it mean to me? I'm supposed to be a person who's sitting there and making sure everything is, all the transactions are working fine. By the end of the day, how much ever is deposited is what I can see in my book. Everything is fine. This is my work. So now when they say that this is going to be moved there, what will happen to me as a person who's inside there? This as a culture. Now, I am working as an insider. So people should take me into consideration and say, you know what, Suma, this is what we are going to do. While we are going to do this, we'll be moving it part by part. Correct? We'll be doing it part by part. You are going to be in this journey together for us. You are going to be the person whom we're going to come and show this is being developed. Is it okay? Okay, that means I'm having an active participation in that. And it is present. Whatever is happening presently will only be taken into consideration. That means the Google, the cloud platform which is being presented is here in this case AWS and Google. Google is what it's been the where I'm moving the platform. It is not going to be going to the box machine. That means it is active and present. Whatever is presently applicable to do such moves. So this is what we are looking at. Maybe this could be a little bit heavy. Stop me if you want any clarifications on this. Okay. The next thing would be the formalized part of it, wherein I'm telling that it should be a top-down approach. Now, say for example, one of you students will decide that we don't want it to be Google Meet. We want it to be. We want to move this to a specific other thing. Maybe I'll make it as WebEx, which is on Cisco, right? I want to do that. You decide. You just say why. But then, if it is not formalized by your principal or your HOD, it cannot be taken forward. That means it has to be formalized. I have a change in mind, but if I want to do this change, I need to collect the reasons why I want to change it, and I want to make sure that my top-down people are okay with it. That is where the formalization comes into picture. I formalize this. I want to change this. I want to make this happen. Only then the people will all be okay with it. Otherwise, whenever you want to change something, nobody wants to change, right? Nobody wants to change. Everybody wants to be just as is. I want to go ahead and be okay. I don't want to change. So that is where making sure that everybody are in this journey is very important, right? And then it comes the strategic part where people are thinking about, I need to collaborate. I might have a view. There could be a specific area where they want to do something else, and then maybe some other department of your own college might want to do something else. But then you should all make sure that everybody are converging together, and we want to make this right, and we want to all put our effort in one specific direction. So that is where your strategy should be put, and that is how you're going to converge, making sure that somebody is going to be there to take a leadership of this and make this happen. So that is very important. Strategic and conversation, very, very important. And then now, and everything is happening, I want to be more innovative. I want to just see whether I can be more innovative in this, and I can be more adaptive. Why adaptive is important? Because the only thing which is always constant is change, right? Always it is changing. Every time anything happens, many things change in this IT world, and the way the transformation is happening. So we should be able to make sure that we are able to align ourselves into that fashion as well. So these are the different areas of digital transformation. I will probably just give you one small example of what I feel the way the digital transformation has taken place, right? So just think about it. This particular account which I have created is created around, say, close to 16 years back when I was in US. Till now, my account is retained with the same email ID, and I can still see a lot of history across different countries, what I have ordered, how it is taken place. So is this not a digital transformation? You are talking about a data being available in a binary. So the data is available in a binary. It is stored in some place under my user ID, and whatever I have done so far, I can get a history of it. Yeah. So that is the way the transformation has happened over the last few decades. So this is one thing. Any questions on this? Did I lose everyone?
Yeah, usually you will do the verification and validation together, because in the end, if you do testing, If the testing fails, you cannot go back to the beginning one, no? Will you do when you in the requirement only? You will do the testing and then like
Yeah. So if that is when we are going back here, right? Right. So as I said, okay, when we are talking about requirements, we are, as I said, we are always involved in early stages of our STLC. When you see, we are not. Okay. All right. So we are not actually doing testing at the large stage fag end. We are doing it at the early stage itself. It's not just when it comes to digital transformation. It is when it comes to everything. So
Sindhu,
what
Sindhu mute
I'll do
ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಮ್ಮ.
is.
Sindhu. Sindhu.
ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಮ್ಮ ಸಿಂಧು.
Madan mute ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ?
Please continue, ma'am.
Okay. So yes, as you say, as you rightly said, the testing is not done. As when I explained the different roles of this particular STLC, I explained that we are there from the requirement analysis phase, right? So the requirement analysis phase only, we will be telling if we feel there is any gaps in terms of the requirements, right? So it's not that we are testing there, we are telling them there is a requirement problem, because at that point in time, nothing is built yet to test. The requirement analysis is nothing but the analysis phase of this. The analysis phase of the SDLC is where we are also doing our requirement analysis. Did I answer your question? Yeah. So that means we are not at the point when initially when testing started, we used to be only at the last phase, that is left, completely right. Sorry, it was completely right. So you have your you have your development done, everything done, and then we test. Now what is happening is the testing is completely shifted to the left, where we are there right from the start, where from the starting of the phases of the requirement analysis itself, so that we can tell them what is the issue, how it is not right. If it is right, yes, it is right. If we have any informations which we can give them or any suggestions to make it better, everything can be provided at that stage itself. So right now, as testers, we are involved at a very early stage of an SDLC cycle itself. Yeah? Yeah? Is it all right? Madam?
Yeah.
So I was just talking about digital transformation, as in what all is required to make the digital transformation happen, right? As a particular organization, how we should work together to make anything happen for the digital transformation. So these are the different stages of digital transformation, where everybody should work together, like had we say hand in glove, to work together to make this happen. But if this has to happen, how it will happen? I will talk on this slide for a minute. Before I just talk about this, I want to understand from you all, how do you understand when it comes to any kind of a agile methodology or waterfall methodology? Can you explain? So can somebody explain what do you think or what do you know about agile and waterfall?
In waterfall model, it will be in linear fashion. After completion of the previous stage only, you have to move to the next stage. So there is a question of going back.
Yeah. Okay. And anyone can explain me what is agile? Okay. Just one thing I want to just retract and just ask you, does anyone have anything to talk about digital transformation? I'll share the slides with you. It's a little heavy. Maybe it's you want to really look at this more in detail. I'm not probably able to do justice in the given time what exactly is digital transformation. But is there anything you are interested to know about this specifically? Anyone? Okay. Now, let me just give you some figures and facts the way things are working today. When it comes to Amazon, every 11 seconds, there is some deployment happening. Every 11 seconds. And it's like, few thousands, 20,000 plus deployments in a day, which happens for Amazon. And when it comes to Netflix, it is quite like, hundreds of deployments in a day, right? So when it comes to the waterfall method, can I request somebody to go on mute? It's a little disturbing, please. Hello? Okay. So now what happens is, as Sir explained, it's a linear fashion. I just do my analysis, I do my development, I do my deployment, and then I go ahead. That means in the previous world, sometime before, all our whole software development used to happen at least for a year or so. When it happens for a year, we can follow this linear method and we can say, okay, once it's tested, something is given to us, we will test it. Maybe we will deploy it on a quarterly basis, something. Maybe once in 3 months, we will deploy something. So this was a kind of method which was followed some years back. Now, as I said, the world is moving like I need to have few hundreds, deployment in a day. I need to have so many deployments in seconds when it comes to Amazon. It's Amazon is not just a website, Amazon Web Services. There's a lot of things with that. That is why they have a very huge deployments every day. When such things happen, we cannot wait for a linear fashion. What happens is we go with something called as agile methodology. Does anyone understand? Can anyone explain to me what is agile methodology, please?
Is dividing each phases into subtasks like that?
Yes, that's correct. What happens here is, say for example, we call it as a sprint. We know the sprint running, right? So you say, for example, in a 2 weeks time, I will build something. I'll build something which is a minimum viable project. Say, for example, I will build something which just says, when going back to the same website, I'll go back to this website and I'll say, I'll just build only this particular, console, the carousel over here. I'll just build only this. This is all I'll build. So this is what I'll build in 2 weeks time. And behind this, I'll have everything ready. Contact, sign in, everything ready. So 15 days, I'll build only so much. So for every sprint, which could be 3 weeks or it could be 2 weeks, I will build so much. When you're talking about building, it's not just about building. It's about building, testing, deploying, everything. So that fast or all these things to be developed and then giving it to testing, or I'm waiting for all these things to be developed and then going to production. So after a while, I can say, I'll go to the production with only this tag, which is woman. I can do that. That could be my decision. But that's how we are going to function now. That's where we can take a conscious decision. And that's what is happening with majority of the organization. So digital transformation with Agile. Now that is possible to happen because there's a lot of tools and technologies available to support that. So that is what is happening with Agile. Now that's one thing. The next thing is machine learning. I'll come to machine learning in 1 minute. Let's just go to adoption of DevOps. Does anyone understand DevOps? Development and operations? Okay. Previously, there was a development team, there was an operations team. So developers will develop all the software, hand it over to the operations team. Now the operations team will go and deploy it, and then they'll say, okay, everything is deployed to the production. We'll wait. If something fails in the production, they will say this is what really failed, and they'll just pass on that information to development team. So these two used to work completely in silos. They would not work together, because of which you can understand that if something went wrong, the development team would say, hey, you did not put this piece of code into production. It is your problem to the operations team. And the operations team would say, no, you did not give me the right development code to be deployed. So there would be a lot of what you could say blame gaming which is happening, and it was a real not a good scenario when it comes to any kind of a project. So then what they did was they combined together and made us DevOps. What happens here? It's a continuously integrated one. I continuously develop something and put it in a place. The operations team will pick it up and put it into production. So continuously this is happening. That is the reason Netflix can do so much of deployment in a day, because it is a seamless project, seamless process which is already been set up. And that's the reason why AWS can put so many deployments in a day, because there is nothing, the process is so well streamlined that once it comes here, it's a continuously built, continuously integrated, continuously deployed. That's why it's called a CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment, which is happening. So these are the different things which has happened during the digital transformation, and those are the different things which is giving us a lot of scope for testing, because it has to be very clearly tested. Yes, is there really continuous integration happening, continuous deployment happening? Is it all seamlessly done? This is something we need to do. That's where all this is happening. And now coming to the machine learning and big data, right? When it comes to machine learning and big data, I think many of you are already doing the projects on machine learning and big data, right? Can somebody tell me what's machine learning? Hello? Okay. Let me.
You will
Sorry,
train the machine like a human, like cognition and recognition, like human, how they slowly they see and recognize the things. Even the machine, by giving training, even they recognize like human.
Right. So great. That's right. How we sometimes we use machine learning and artificial intelligence interchangeably. So what we are trying to do is so machine learning, when we train something and we try to make it to run, it is acting like a bot, right? So that's one very good advantage of machine learning. Other than that, how machine learning is important is, for example, especially in the testing world, I think in Google, we are running about millions of test cases in a day, right? When you're running millions of test cases in a day, you can imagine the kind of load the server is taking, right? Instead of that, can we understand whether really so much test cases are important? How can we reduce it? All these things can be learned by machine learning. Again, here, as you said, you'll be training it. You'll be understanding what are the different test cases which are redundant. Because, say, for example, you're running maybe 10,000 test cases, which has never given you any defect from past 10 years. So maybe then you can think, I can probably reduce the 10,000 to maybe 1,000. So these are the different things which you can think. So that is how machine learning is playing a very important role even for testing, right? And the second thing, as you can see here, artificial intelligence, or you can say data collections or a big data. See, right now it just gave me a browsing history is a specific book here, Karma book. So when it comes to such things, you're just looking at how a specific predictive analysis or predictive comparative, what you can do in terms of actually working on a website. When you're doing it, is it actually picking up something of your your behavior depending on your gender, on your demography, on your interest. Based on that, you can think many a times when you enter a specific website, you see maybe if you've entered it in the past, it will start giving you something which start throwing some suggestions to you. All these suggestions are made because of the data which is being collected, right? So when this data is being collected, how is it analyzed? Is the analysis is right? There are a lot of these data which is structured, which is unstructured. So how can I analyze this unstructured data? How can I analyze this structured data? Whether it is coming when it combines everything and gives you a proper analysis. Is this analysis right? Does it make any sense? All these things are also a scope of our testing now because of all these digital transformation. So previously we had our scopes limited to some things. Now our scope has really enhanced because of because of this digital transformation. That's why I just wanted to cover this specific slide. And there is something like Internet of Things. Um, have you heard of an? I think in Infosys Mysore. I'm an ex-Infosys. I'm very proud of that. There was this driverless car. Do you all know? You all belong to Mysore, right?
Ah, yes, yes.
Yeah. So there was this driverless car. We were all very proud when this happened, and I think it was actually given to one of the clients when they came and it was taken. I think maybe the client was really scared, but then I think we were all very confident and work well. So how does this work? When so many of these devices are connected to a specific internet, you can you can drive a specific need. So I think the smart houses, there is a smart city which is happening right now, right? As a smart house I have from my, maybe from my mobile, I can you have these Alexas, you have this, I don't know how famous Alexa is in India. You can also control your temperatures, you can control your room heating, you can control your security gates. Lot of these things can happen from your smart devices. How is that happening? How it's not about sharing data. So when it comes to connecting in one place and connecting to one specific internet and then trying to make sure that everything is handled, it's not about sharing data, it's about controlling, it's about getting the data, analyzing and taking a proper action to it. So that is what is Internet of Things, and that is a huge scope for us right now. Right, that's very important. The next thing is performance engineering. Before we could just, as a volume testing and all those things I explained in the performance. Right now, there was a question, right? Where are we involved? We are involved even in performance engineering. What does a performance engineering mean? When somebody is designing their code and they're actually testing it, the testers are involved at that stage just to check whether the particular piece of code is good, whether it can take a proper load. Is there a specific algorithm, it's a specific loop which is written, which is actually causing a delay for a system to respond? That level of performance engineering is correction. What we can do is where we are involved in right now. That's where we are. And I spoke about test automation, right? Instead of doing only the manual testing, we can do the automation testing. That's what we can do. Shortening of delivery cycles. How can we do the shortening of delivery cycles? Having a lot of intelligent way of doing it, right? One is automation. The second thing is making sure that AI ML, what I was speaking about, understanding from our logs which is being created, whether whatever test cases which we have done is still relevant or something is redundant. How can we start looking at those things? Those are the things which we are contributing more now, and it is more exciting, because the way the trend is changing is a lot of people are calling us as quality engineers now. They're not calling us software testers anymore. I mean, we are engineering the software right now, we are making them to get the software better. So that's where it's more exciting to be in this space. And of course I mentioned integration, where we are doing the integration between different places, right? That's what it is. And I think Nagashmi madam had this question of from where we are getting involved, right? We are involved in shift left. That means we are involved right from the analysis phase. That is completely shift left. Design, code, everything we are involved. Other than that, we are also involved in shift right. That means we are involved in user acceptance testing, making sure the user is accepting whatever is being built. If it is not, explaining to them what is the better way of doing it. So these are the different aspects which is opened up as a part of digital transformation. Yeah, I think we are running really short of time, but let me just probably conclude by one thing which I can say. This is what is required to be a good tester. Be good, be passionate. There are a lot of technical skills which is required based on your interest of area, right? Wherever you're interested in security testing, there's a specific need for that. That's what you need to. When it's the performance engineering testing, you need the specific need, what you need to study for it. When it's automation, there's a specific thing which you need to study. So each of these areas are different. Internet of Things, it's different, right? There are a lot of these things which you can do when it comes to technical skills. but definitely what is required is your analytical skills. But tester needs a lot more thing to understand the overall software as compared to the developer. So your analytical skills should be really nice, and yeah, that's where you need to really focus on. Lastly, I'll just say the career paths. There are multiple things. This is something very prevalent right now, especially I guess you all are going to come out in a year or so, and this is still going to be very relevant when you come out. So that's where I just put some of the career paths which I think might be something very useful for you. I'll share this deck with Nagashmi madam, and she can share with all of you. There's any questions, I'm happy to take. I think we have overrun the time. So yeah, I'll let Nagashmi madam to take a call how we want to go about it.
Yeah, first 10 questions. Anyone you can ask students. Any doubt?
Was I that clear, or is it not? It was not at all clear.
Madam, can I ask a question now? Nagash madam.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Let me congratulate you for your wonderful and informative lecture.
Thank you.
In our software engineering paper, whether it's a master's degree program or undergraduate program, we will teach software engineering with some models like waterfall model, iterative enhancement model, spiral model, etc. Is the agile somewhat similar to iterative enhancement model?
But when you say iterative analysis model, sir, you're actually learning it, improving and moving ahead.
Yes,
That's what
yes.
you're doing it, right? So it is similar to agile.
Okay.
But in iterative model, I am not really sure because, yeah, as you know, my background is electrical and electronics engineering. I don't recall whether in the iterative model you had something to be deployed immediately. Because in agile, what is most important is what we call as a minimum viable product, right? That has to be present. You should always have something quantitative output.
Okay.
Quantitative output is very important for agile.
In agile, usually, according to me, it is a very rapid development. When you require a quick development, at that time you'll go for agile. It is nothing but it is a combination of iterative also, sir.
Agile is a necessity of the world right now. Many places we don't see waterfall. Okay, that's a reality.
Correct.
What might happen is there could be a hybrid between agile and waterfall, depending on the way the different teams are capable, based on their capability. But waterfall model, in its unique way of existence, is very, very less.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there any much difference between the terms fault, error, and bugs?
No, actually no. It's very interchangeably used.
Yes, that's right.
Fault, error, or bugs, right? Usually we go with a bug or a defect.
Okay.
That's right. Error or something. It's more to do with maybe a scientific term. You could, for the lack of any other word, but it's usually defect or bug. Just it.
Because in most of the textbook, what happens is the definition of fault is given as the definition of error. In some book, the definition of error is given the fault. That's what confuses. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any doubt, students? Yeah. Santosh sir, I request Santosh sir to propose a vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you, madam. It seems to be a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this webinar a very resounding success. First of all, I would like to thank, on behalf of our college and the staff, our distinguished speaker, Madam Suma Srinivasaya, for making an excellent presentation and making this webinar a very meaningful and interesting. And I would like to express our deep gratitude to our principal, Dr. Padmanabha sir, for his presence in this webinar. And I am happy to express a vote of thanks to our HOD, organizing secretaries, and staff that has made this webinar a great success through their motivation and dedication. And finally, I thank the wonderful students who have signed up in such a great numbers. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Once again, I thank all of your cordial cooperation. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
I
this
thank
opportunity.
Suma madam once again. It was a really wonderful one. Students, I think, because of their data shortage, many of the students they are in remote places. Uh, they are having continuous classes online. Maybe per day they may be having 1.5 GB. They are running out of
Okay.
data. Yeah, but still, I
Sorry.
thank you for making this program successful. It was very informative. On behalf of the college and principal and all of our staff, I thank you once again. I thank my HOD and thank you one and all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
All the best, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.